Holy cow, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's a mock draft now. We're back doing the mock drafts after giving the season a little bit of time to sort of settle in here. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the future videos. And if you watch my deep dive series, thank you so much. As you can tell by the way the season's gone, I was 100% accurate in all my assessments. That's right. Go back and look at some of the orders. I got some of those teams in, and you will know that I am apparently a super genius, or maybe not so much. But I'm hoping to redeem myself here a bit by doing my first mock of the year. I'm going to look back on this one come actual draft day and see how accurate I am. You're going to see a lot of my guys that I have in this draft. A couple. Maybe some controversial takes here, but I think I have at least enough justifications here from research that I've done on how well the college football season's gone and how well the pro football season has gone to sort of give you guys a good idea of what is going to happen in the draft come this year. Some guys that you're not used to seeing in the first round I think are going to pop up as well. But, you know, it's going to be a longer video, so let's just get to it. And here it is. First mock draft of the year. Let's go. Roll it. So let's start from the top here, and it's Travis Hunter going number 1 to the Patriots. I really considered Will Campbell just because the Patriots, they are still trying to figure out what's exactly happening with the offensive line. You know, they got Caden Wallace from, I think, Penn State in this last draft. Didn't really love him when they picked him. And I still think there's just a lot of questions on that offensive line. But one thing they don't have on the offense, they just don't have this game breaker. They don't have like a game wrecker on offense. They're a very mediocre offense. Like Demario Davis is their best receiver. You can argue that Jalen Polk with some more time. You know, he's had a couple of moments this year, but mostly not been great, which is fine for a rookie. You know, Tyquan Thornton is sort of just like been a speed guy that's never really worked out. Travis Hunter can come in and he's just a weapon. He's just somebody that you can put with Drake May and you pick him as a wide receiver for me. You know, they've done a great job with the cornerback room, I think, over there with Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones, Christian Gonzalez. You know, if Jonathan Jones does go, maybe you consider playing Travis Hunter, but I think at the pros he's going to have to settle in at one position. And I think picking him at wide receiver is their best choice. He's comes in immediate number 1 receiver on the team. He can run all the routes. And because of his experience as a cornerback, I think that really will help him grow, I think, early on in his pro career. Just being able to sort of anticipate what a cornerback will be doing against him in a given situation better than others would. I think that could reflect well for him also in the film room. I think that the personality thing could come into play here, but it isn't a Belichick team anymore. It's Gerard Mayo, and I could see Travis Hunter being the guy here. Then the Bengals, who I don't know if they're going to be picking here come the end of the year, but if their interior defensive line keeps playing the way it is, they might be, and that's why they take Mason Graham from Michigan. He's just an immediate upgrade at the interior defensive line. Helps out Trey Hendrickson, collapse some pockets there. You know, they have Miles Murphy, who they picked 2 years ago, missed his entire rookie year, or most of his rookie year, I think. I might have missed all of it. So he's behind a year in his development, so it's hard to judge him as of yet, but he is a first-round pick as well. So I think that combination there, you hope you develop Miles Murphy. Mason Graham can come in and be your interior defensive lineman. Then the Browns, and this is the first spot that I considered quarterback, but I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe this is Shedeur Sanders. Maybe it's Cam Ward. I went with Will Campbell, just I don't want to say the safest player on the board, but this offensive line has not been great either. You know, quarterback play aside, I think that they can plug in a competent quarterback with the offense that they have, especially when they get Nick Chubb back. That combination of the backfield with some of the weapons that they got, you know, just make sure you have a healthy offensive line. DeJuan Jones, when he's healthy, looks like he's going to be a great option at right tackle. So get Will Campbell, you can play left tackle. Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin. You know, Conklin, who just can't stay healthy. Jedrick Wills, who hasn't really worked out and can't stay healthy either. Those are good contracts that you can move on from. The Rams go with Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan. They have no one that can cover. They got Trey White. That hasn't worked great. He's not doing all that awesome. They had some injuries in the secondary leading into the season, but, you get a blue chipper right here to play outside corner and just solidify at least one side of the secondary. Really outside of Jalen, when they had Jalen Ramsey and Darius Williams, that was a great cornerback room. So you want to sort of get back to that and build with a great little prospect here. Then I got the Jags going with Kelvin Banks. Travon Walker's, he's improved a little bit. He's taking the baby steps that you anticipated. So that's why I'm not going with James Pierce. But I like Kelvin Banks. He can play 4 positions on the offensive line. Anton Harrison has not been good this year. So maybe Kelvin Banks is your right tackle. Maybe he's, one of your guard spots. You figure that out sort of as you go, but you need to make sure that you're protecting Trevor Lawrence. You just paid a lot of money to. And I would go with Tatera McMillan. Tatera McMillan, but he's sort of redundant almost to what they're getting from Brian Thomas, which is redundant from what they're getting from Gabe Davis. So there'll just be way too much redundancy there. I can still see them going receiver, maybe in the second round. It just doesn't look like Gabe Davis in particular is going to be around much longer, just because Brian Thomas Jr. is doing all the things that they brought Gabe Davis in to do. James Pierce and McMillan, we just talked about them for the Jags. I got Pierce going to the Panthers. They have no pass rush at all. Literally none, especially with Derek Brown out. They don't even have anything going on in the interior. They need something here in that edge room. This is the best option for them. And then I got McMillan going to the Titans just because, DeAndre Hopkins could possibly get moved. He's not necessarily long for this world there anyway. Treylon Burks, what do you do with him? Kyle Phillips had that little burst early on in his rookie campaign, got injured. Nothing since. So, to me, you get McMillan, you pair him up with Calvin Ridley long term, and I think you give Will Levis another shot here. I think this could be another quarterback spot, though, in hindsight. Speaking of quarterback spots, I didn't do it with Miami either. They are committed to Tua. So I went with Wyatt Milliam, the offensive tackle from West Virginia. Maybe people haven't really heard of him. I don't know how many mock drafts he's been appearing in, but he's currently the highest graded offensive tackle in all of college football. He has been unbelievable at West Virginia this year, just playing out of his mind good. And if he plays up to like 75-80% of what he's done so far, there's no way he's not going to get any type of, top 15, top 10 buzz here. It's just, especially with so many teams in need of offensive line help and teams that are like on the cusp of being true contenders like Miami, who need to keep guys healthy. It just makes a lot of sense for me to see a guy like Wyatt Milliam, who is performing so well at a school that's not all that great either. It's not like he's a great tackle at LSU like Will Campbell. Not taking anything away from Will Campbell, but, he's doing all this great stuff at West Virginia, so he's not getting a lot of help anywhere else around him that can help boost up the way that he's sort of performing. So I really like him to be sort of like a my guy type thing. I think you can call him the first my guy of this draft. Going to the next 8 picks here, and it's Luther Burden going to the Jets at 9. It's just weapons, man. Weapons. I don't know if Mike Williams is going to be there. They haven't traded for Devontae Adams yet. You got to go all in. You got to get more bodies out there to perform. The offensive line is actually pretty good. The right tackle spot you got to figure out, but you drafted Olufashanu last year, so maybe come next year, you see him trending upwards for the rest of the season. Just getting guys out there for Rodgers, man. Burden can come in and be like a Randall Cobb or something for him, Number 10, Malachi Starks, defensive back, Georgia, going to Arizona. I was really looking at what Arizona could get here. The offensive line is actually playing pretty well. they got some good receiving weapons. There's not really a receiver here that I think would be worthy of top 10. I think if Burton sort of fell, maybe they consider going receiver back-to-back years in the first round. But then I thought Jonathan Gannon, and you look at Budda Baker, and I know there's been talk about Baker not being on the team, getting traded for a couple years now. I feel like just the closer they get to being really good and Baker's contributions sort of not being at the true top level that they used to be, maybe a change of scenery would be good for him, kind of like it was for Kevin Byard, who's playing out of his mind right now. Just playing amazing football in Chicago. So you bring in Malachi Starks, he can play safety. You drafted corner a couple of years now. Just young up that secondary. I could see defensive line also being picked here. Be interesting to see where Arizona does inevitably decide to go based upon what their roster is going to look like come draft day. I think they could be a team that could see a lot of turnover. Number 11, the Raiders, Shedeur Sanders, first quarterback off the board. It's just, people don't like his attitude. I don't like his attitude. I think he's increasingly showing more selfish, self-centered behavior, which is not necessarily something you want for a quarterback. But boy, will he sell tickets, and boy, does the thought of him in silver and black not just sound right. And a team that does need a quarterback, they're switching to Aiden O'Connell after having Gardner Minshew. They did seem like they were sort of punting the year of quarterback when they didn't take one last year. They didn't trade up for one in the last draft. This is the year they have to strike, and Shedeur Sanders, I think, just makes a lot of sense for what they want to build. They won't have Devontae Adams, but they'll have a chance to build out that wide receiver for room for him as well in the offseason. Number 12 is Deion Walker, defensive lineman, Kentucky. The Saints and the Bengals, I kind of got them in the same situation here. Their interior defensive line play is porous. It's a good word, but not a good descriptor because it is bad. They are just getting nothing from them. Outside of that highlight interception at the goal line, there is nothing there. And I think Deion Walker, at the very least, can come in, be a great space eater. He's 345 pounds, I believe. He's a monster. He's about 6'6", 345. They need at least some sort of early down work. So first and second down, he can come in, play the one, play the nose tackle spot, and then Brian Brzee can come in and be like more of a speed guy, and get him moving as terms of a pass rusher from the interior, help out that entire group. They need that help, man. It's really going to help raise up the whole quality of the defense because their inability to just, have good play on the interior does have a ripple effect throughout the defense, especially in games where it's a little bit closer. Maybe they're playing from behind. Got the Colts going with Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. That seems to be one of the weaker spots there. They've committed a lot to the front four. The secondary just seems like a weak spot for them. I'm surprised they haven't done a better job of addressing. But I think getting a top tier talent there, so like same logic with the Rams earlier, will really help them out. I think they've done a good job building up the offense. The offensive line is playing really great. They got a lot of receivers. They got a good running back room. They got their franchise quarterback. There's not really anything they can do on the offensive side of the ball to truly improve that team, at least in the early rounds. So I think the next best bet is to go with the cornerback room. You did just take Liatu Latu last year to play edge. Speaking of edge, Abdul Carter from Penn State going to the 49ers. They really need someone opposite of Nick Bosa. They thought they had it in Chase Young when they traded for him to be sort of a rent-a player. They need to get something more permanent there. Drake Jackson hasn't really worked out there. So that's what they want. That's what I think that they should probably do in this draft, is focus on getting another top-tier investment opposite of Nick Bosa. The Giants. My New York Giants. I got them taking Cam Ward from the University of Miami. Daniel Jones in the last, from week 2 to 5, has been fantastic. absolutely great. Throw out that game against the Vikings. He's been a top 15 quarterback in the NFL this year easily. How much of that is scheme? How much is that him understanding the scheme? How much is that Brian Daboll understanding Jones? Maybe it's half and half. The one thing that Daniel Jones does struggle with, though, is with the deep ball. Now, the Giants have built a roster with Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson. A lot of speed, a lot of athleticism, and they want to be able to push the ball down the field. You know, Daboll did great things with Josh Allen. Now, I'm not saying Cam Ward's Josh Allen, but I do look at what Cam Ward does compared to Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones and Cam Ward, I think, short to intermediate, and their ability to use their legs, I'd say you're going to get, worst case scenario, I think, from Cam Ward, the exact same that you're getting from Daniel Jones. Maybe a little bit less just because of lack of experience, at least early on in that first year. But what you will get from Cam Ward that you're not getting from Daniel Jones is the deep ball. And I'm just going to run through some of the deep ball numbers here that Cam Ward has put up so far in college. 57% deep ball completion percentage. He's got the most completed deep balls in all of college football with an 8-0 touchdown to interception ratio and only 2 turnover worthy plays on his 37 attempts of 20 yards or more down the field. The best currently in the NFL in terms of percentage is Sam Darnold with 52%, 3 turnover worthy plays on 21 attempts. So he is outpacing the top NFL deep ball throwers so far this year. And that's not necessarily a trait that has been applied to Cam Ward historically throughout his college football career. He's got a lot of experience in college ball. And I think that that's going to be something that Daboll would really like. Now, I understand he's going here at 15. Will the Giants have to move up to get him in real life? I think that's undoubtedly they would have to. I think they would value Cam Ward over Shedeur Sanders for the reasons I just laid out. I think the maturity thing as well. So that's where, and the other thing is that Cam Ward is going to be doing it for about $25 million less, $25 to $35 million less per year for the next 4 years compared to what you would get from Daniel Jones, who you'd have to extend. So it's the perfect out of Daniel Jones's contract. You know, if Daniel Jones continues on this pace and the Giants are a playoff team again, it does make things a little bit dicier, but if they are here at this top 15 pick in the draft, I could see them investing highly in a quarterback, feeling just that they are that much away. And if they can just get more big plays throwing the ball down the field, that will be the difference maker in this team being like a fringe middle of the pack team in the NFL to being somewhere, you know, winning 1 or 2 playoff games perhaps. I could see that being the logic there because they do have so many other pieces on this team. The offensive line finally came together. They got weapons at receiver. The defense is looking relatively good, at least talent-wise, as they settle into the new scheme. So that alone, I feel like this is the best pick. The Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going with Jack Sawyer, the edge out of Ohio State. Now, I know a lot of people don't necessarily have Jack Sawyer as being like a first-round pick, but there's, again, more logic to this behind it. You're losing Brandon Graham, who's announced this is his last year. The one thing that this edge group and this front four has struggled with this year is in the run game, on these early downs. Jack Sawyer is an instant upgrade to the front four in run defense. He is somebody who can be a very, very good pass rusher as well. But I think initially when you bring him in, he's somebody that immediately becomes an early down edge player, first and second down. That allows more opportunities to have a bigger rotation. They love to have a nice rotation on the defensive side of the ball at the edge room in particular. They've always kept a very deep defensive line. So I don't think he necessarily would, again, disrupt the investments they've made financially in guys like Bryce Huff or in Josh Sweat or draft capital in Nolan Smith. They all, 4 of those guys, sort of serve different roles. have different unique skill sets. So I think it creates a real great opportunity potentially for the Eagles going with Sawyer as opposed to some of the other guys that they have available in this draft. Up next, the Chicago Bears. I'm going with Jonah Savagnier, the interior guard from the University of Arizona. They need something on the offensive line in the interior. I don't hate the tackles. Darnell Wright, I think, just give him a little bit more time. Braxton Jones has been good in his career. He'll have some real bummer drives every now and then, a couple bummer quarters. But I think overall, he's not somebody that you're necessarily looking to replace. But you do want to improve the offensive line. You want to invest in your franchise quarterback, who you just drafted number 1 overall last year. You did a great job getting wide receivers. Maybe you're looking at running back at this point. DeAndre Swift hasn't been all that great, but you can always get running back depth in there. You want to get, I think the offensive line gets a little bit more focus here. And this guy's probably the only truly worthy, true interior offensive lineman in the draft that goes in the first round. Green Bay, Siobhan Revel from East Carolina, the cornerback. Again, they need somebody to play opposite Jair Alexander. Is Jair Alexander even going to be on this team next year? You hear rumblings about that as well. So I think that's plays a part in here, but you can never have too many corners, especially in this division that just keeps getting better and better and better with the offensive performances, especially in the passing game. The Chargers, Jim Harbaugh brings back one of his players, Kenneth Grant, the interior defensive lineman from Michigan. Again, C New Orleans, C Cincinnati. They need interior defensive linemen. They need interior defensive linemen badly. They do. They need them. Get them out there. 20th, Seattle goes Josh Simmons, tackle from Ohio State. They have a real issue at right tackle right now. Abraham Lucas was really good in his rookie year. Didn't show much, progression. Actually kind of really regressed in his sophomore year and hasn't seen the field yet. Stone Forsythe, terrible. George Fant, minimal playing, not great. Veteran as well. Don't know how much longer you're going to have him around anyway. Get somebody in there to play right tackle opposite of Charles Cross, who's had a great rookie season, great third year start so far. And I think Josh Simmons, he's a great pass protection so far. So he at least will come in and be that. And he's, serviceable in run blocking. You can always work on that. Not every player is going to come in and be perfect. Number 21, Steelers, Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. George Pickens. Calvin Austin, I guess, has sort of showed up lately. The Van Jefferson. They need another receiver. They need another weapon out there at the wide receiver position. I like Egbuka from Ohio State. He was a great compliment to Marvin Harrison Jr. Number 22, the Denver Broncos, Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. I was tempted to take him at 19 with the Chargers, but taking him here with Denver. Again, you just took a rookie quarterback last year. The offensive line that you put together, has really good potential to it. Looking pretty good. You put a lot of money into it. Let them come together. The running back room maybe could be it, but I think you can get more out of someone like Loveland in the red zone, in the passing game, and the running game. And it's another situation where Sean Payton loves using tight ends. And I think Bo Nix getting a good, solid tight end. Adam Trotman's been I think he's the 29th graded tight end right now. Could be wrong, but maybe 24th. So you want to get somebody who goes up there who can boost this unit up. I'm not saying he's Brock Bowers, but Brock Bowers right now has been the best tight end in the NFL through the first 5 games of his career. So it really does help an offense. I think you get Loveland out there. It's a good little addition. This is where the running back goes off the board, though, to the Dallas Cowboys. Ashton Genty, probably going to win the Heisman. The running back out of Boise State. I think in 5 games, he's got like 13 touchdowns and like 800 yards or something absurd. He's just out of this world good. And the Cowboys are desperate for a run game. I think as of this week, going into their game against who are they playing this week? Whoever they're playing this week, they're like the last ranked running game. So yeah, you need help. Desperate help. Tampa, Nick Scorton, edge out of Texas A&M. I think you can put him opposite Yaya Diaby. Tryon hasn't been that great. They don't really have anyone right now opposite Yaya Diaby, who's sort of playing like a low end 1, high end 2 quality play right now. Great play out of the cornerback room, Zion McCollum. I said it in the deep dive series where I had Tampa ranked very low, that a huge difference maker on this defense will be if Zion McCollum finally steps up. And boy, has he ever. It's been a huge addition, huge upgrade to this team that's really helped them out. And I think now enhancing the pass rush from the edge will also further help this defense. Now the Buffalo Bills at 25. Mikael Williams, edge out of Georgia. You don't know if Von Miller is going to be around how much longer. Other than Gregory Rousseau, they're not getting a lot of great play off the edge so far this year. So maybe adding another one will be helpful to them. Baltimore, Emory Jones Jr., offensive tackle, LSU. I feel like, Ronnie Stanley has had a good year so far. Waiting for the health to be an issue like it's been historically the last couple of years. And also you're trying to figure out that right tackle spot as well. Macari and Rosengarten and whoever you're tossing out there. You want to solidify this offensive line for Lamar, for Derrick Henry, who's having a monster season so far. You want to, if you can improve the offensive line somehow, imagine how much better those guys will be who are already having a great season. The Atlanta Falcons, Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas. Probably another my guy situation here. Probably not a lot of first round buzz for him. Atlanta needs the cornerback help at this point. Mike Hughes is like one of their top corners right now. I don't love it long term, that's for sure. Josiah Stewart going 28 to the Detroit Lions. Josiah Stewart right now is off to a monster start. He's an every down edge guy for the Michigan Wolverines. I think the highest graded edge player in college football right now, just destroying opposing teams. The issue is, his size. He's senior in Michigan, has improved every single year since coming from Coastal Carolina. He had 2 good years at Coastal Carolina, came to Michigan, that upgrading competition, knocked him a little bit back down to earth, but then this year just completely has taken off. The size, again, is going to be, I think, the thing that's an issue at the next level. He is only 6'1", 245. You can put on weight, I guess. But I think he's the perfect complement to what they have with Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson is a great all-purpose 3-down edge player, run and pass. Josiah Stewart, you at least know with his size, with his abilities, with his speed, with his pass rush moves, he can at least be a really great complement as a pass rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Now, if he can convert his size into being a great run defender as well, then that's a bonus at this point, because generally you just want one of your edge players. When you have a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, you just want a guy opposite of him that can be like a middle of the pack number 2. And with the upside that Stewart brings, you could find yourself in a situation where you got 2 ones, sort of like what they have in Pittsburgh right now. With Highsmith and TJ Watt, that kind of scenario, you're opening yourself up to that opportunity. And it's one of the few spots on the Lions team right now and the Lions are the ones playing the Cowboys, by the way, just came to me, because great against the run. You want to see them improve the pass rush. You want to see them help. Aiden Hutchinson's going to pick up double teams the whole time. Josiah Stewart going one-on-one for an entire game. I love it. I love it. They're not getting great production out of the other edge players on this team so far this year, so why not throw it out there? Your interior defensive line is great. Your linebackers got a lot going on for them. Your secondary is drastically improved. You invested a lot in them the last couple of years. The offensive line is great. You got your tight end. You got your wide receivers. You got your quarterback. Got your running backs. Where else are you going to go? This is the perfect spot for them to pick. Washington, the biggest surprise of them all. I got him going with Isaiah Bond, the wide receiver out of Texas. Invest in your quarterback. Jaden Daniels is playing way better than anyone expected. And if you put in Isaiah Bond, who's like this little fast guy, you're going to create even more opportunities. They have Luke McCaffrey, who is number 1 in the league right now in terms of creating separation, 82%. I think it's 82.2% of his routes he's creating the best separation. So you got that. You got Terry McLaurin, who's a true number 1. Then you got Isaiah Bond, who can just take the top off of teams. You know, don't know how long you're going to have Dyami Brown there. You know, it's been a long road for Dyami Brown. If he has a great year this year, maybe you just don't keep him. Get Isaiah Bond. I think he'd really help out with Jane Daniels for an offense that really clearly wants to play fast. You know, like you look at Baltimore's offense, they're at their best when they're playing fast. And I think Washington, you're seeing a lot of the same traits come out of that. You know, let them play fast, and Isaiah Bond comes in and immediately gives them that. Houston, Tyleik Williams, interior defensive lineman from Ohio State. They needed the interior defensive line help. So, like the other teams I had picking interior defensive line, this would go a long way to helping improve their defense. The Chiefs, Ariante Ursary, the tackle from Minnesota. The interior of this offensive line is as elite as it comes. I think they have like all 3 of their interior offensive line right now are graded in the top 5 at their position. The tackles are a mystery, you know. You got Kieran Emagadegi, Wanya Morris, Jawan Taylor. Wanya Morris, Jawan Taylor haven't been great at all. It's a position where it's really the only position where there's some sort of weakness, I guess you could say, is the tackle room. So you might as well just throw assets at it until you get it right. And I think this is the perfect opportunity and perfect year for them to do that. And then the Vikings, undefeated. I got going with Donovan Jackson, the interior offensive lineman from Ohio State. Again, sort of the same argument. You know, I thought of interior defensive line. You know, their edge has got a lot of depth to it. Linebacker, they've put some investments in there. Maybe you look at the secondary. Didn't really have anyone in the cornerback room that I loved. Good wide receiver room. Top level tight end. You know, the running back is off the board. Maybe they bring back Aaron Jones, who's played it great so far. 2 great tackles. And then you look at the interior of the offensive line. You go, okay, maybe they could upgrade one of their guard spots by adding Donovan Jackson. Maybe. At the very least, you're throwing assets there at a position group that is essential to your team's success. You want to keep your quarterbacks clean, especially when you're eventually going to move on to J.J. McCarthy. It'll help him with the speed of the game that you don't see these big downgrades. It helps with your cap situation. If you got to re-sign one of these interior offensive linemen, you can, doesn't have to play right away. You're playing great as it is. So you're just creating an opportunity to then smoothly move on from guys where you can then spend that money elsewhere at more important positions, perhaps, or important extensions that you may have to give out. Thank you for watching, everybody. Leave your comments in the comment section below. What do you think is the most surprising pick? What pick do you think is a lock? Who do you want to see your team pick in the 2025 NFL Draft? We're here already. We're doing this. It's October. I'm going to go watch the Giants and the Bengals on Sunday Night Football live in the stadium. Let's go, Giants. And I'll see you guys with the next video next time.